Come correct or don't come at all.
This is the Hartzog Hustle Podcast.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And we're talking about the hustle, strategy, and mindset you need to win in the areas of your finance, your purpose, and your future.
Know what I'm saying?
If you have heart and you want to learn how to activate the power of your hustle, then this is the podcast for you, baby.
Congratulations.
And now, your hosts, Anthony and Janilka Hartzog.
This is how it should be done.
So what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. My name is Anthony Hartzog, Mr. Hartzog Hustle himself, and I'm joined here by my beautiful wife and co-host, Mrs. Hartzog Hustle, Janilka. What's going on, Mom?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for being here.
We appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah.
Before we get started, if you guys are new here, please drop us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, just leave us a like or a comment. It helps us get more people.
Engage with us.
And our whole purpose of this podcast is to help 9-to-5ers create more impact, influence, and income outside their jobs. So that's our goal here. That's what we talk about because that's what we did.
Yes, and I've been seeing you guys leave the reviews. We've been getting newer ones come in, so appreciate that.
Very important.
I'm going to read the review of the day. Now, this is on the Apple of the week. Sorry. This is on the Apple platform, by the way. If you're feeling like you're leaving the review and we're not reading it, I don't know if there's other ways. We're only looking at Apple. Sorry. Love this. So, title is Inspiring Couple. Love this podcast. They are very authentic and relatable. My wife and I love listening to them as we are aspiring to reach higher levels as they have. Keep up the great work and consistency. Best, the Greens. So thank you, the Greens. RS Green 2 is who left the review. Appreciate it. Like we said, we read out these reviews. We want to keep inspiring and helping others. Huh?
So that's going to be a problem. Let's keep going dark.
Ooh. We want to keep inspiring and helping others. So thank you so much for tuning in week after week and as we continue to grow.
Yes.
So
get the iPad.
You need the iPad. Okay.
Yeah. So yes, that's the goal. Consistency is the key, and that it may seem easier said than done, but showing up every single week, dropping the content, dropping everything that we learn, and dropping everything that we're sharing, is never easy. But consistency is the name of the game. And speaking of consistency, where was I going with that?
Yeah, that's what we're waiting on.
I don't know where I was going with that. But, to catch you guys up, we just celebrated Alani's
6 month anniversary. No, it's not anniversary.
6 months.
It was her turning
half
6
birthday.
months. Yeah, 6
yes,
months.
she just turned 6 months.
I don't know where the time has gone. I have no idea, but we're here and we're pushing through. And we've mentioned this before, but we've been on a traveling kick. It's just the way things have lined up. But on her 6 month birthday, I guess, she was able to fly first class for the first time. It was her 13th flight, but she flew first class in 6 months. So wee.
Yeah, she slept the whole time, so she didn't even get
time.
She didn't even get to enjoy it.
She slept about an hour and a half. It was a 2-hour flight. So.
And that's going to be the conversation around what we're talking about today is setting the GPS for your life. Setting the GPS for what you want to do, setting the GPS for your goals.
No, I just kind of think about it like she flew in first class. Obviously, she's 6 months. Y'all gonna be out there. She'll know. Fine. But if you make it a normal thing, I just think about like there's gonna be times where she's probably not in first class and we walking past. She gonna want to sit at the front.
Exactly.
Why are we sitting at the front of the plane? Because we ain't paid for it.
We ain't paid for it this time.
So we wanted to become a norm. I think the first time that either of us flew first class was back in 2020,
couple years ago.
2020, back in 2020 on a flight to London from New York. And that was like, okay, it's not the same from South Carolina to Dallas, but it was an experience in general. Lay flat, food, drinks, the whole nine. So it was like an experience. There's that sound of Steve Harvey that he says, like, take first class, try it out, see how you like it, and you probably never want to go back or whatever the case may be. So we just want to expose her to things that we never did or that we did later on in life, and we can provide her with it earlier.
Yeah, I was saying I didn't get onto my first flight until I was like 25 or something like that. I'm 36, so my first real flights was maybe 11 years ago. She got on her first, she's been on 12 to 14 flights at this point before she's even 1 year. And by the 1 year mark, she may have traveled to 3, 4, 5 different countries. So we're talking about setting the GPS for your goals in your life. And that's really what this conversation is about, because we had the ability to be in a private mastermind that was worth $20,000 absolutely free.
Yeah. Well, free is relative. We paid for the coach, but the weekend wasn't
Yeah.
It's supposed to be just us.
So the 20. So imagine paying for a $20,000 mastermind that you got for absolutely free just by showing up. And that's what we're talking about a little bit today. We're gonna give you guys a little bit of insight of that, but we have a mindset coach, someone who's teaching us strategy around changing our mindset. And we went to his retreat this week. His name is James Simpson. And before we got there, I was telling Janoka that we are probably going to be the only ones here as a joke, because I was like, we're the ones that's showing up the most
on the calls.
We're the ones putting the most work in. Because we paid a lot of money to be in this coaching in this room. Well, we're going to get everything out of it.
Yeah.
We're not going to miss. I was like, if I can't join the call, you're going to join the call. If you can't join the call, I'm going to join the call.
And to be clear and frank about that, the call started, I want to say a week or 2 weeks after she was born.
Alani was born.
So before we signed up, we're like, listen, we don't even know what we're doing. We don't know what it's going to be like having this kid, what life is going to be like, but we're going to take the leap. We'll sign up and go. And the coach was like, if you guys can't make it on the first two, we'll do it on the back end because new parents. But we signed up, and the first call was like a week or 2 weeks after Alani was born. So no excuses over here, okay? If you know us, you know there's no excuses.
That's a gem, because we showed up to these calls right after our daughter was born. So we are talking about eliminating excuses, and that's the biggest excuse we could have had. We could be like, yo, we're not joining.
Yeah, I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I was tired. There's times
you were showing up.
My head up, a robe.
You were showing up. And this just goes back to when you pay, you pay attention. This is why when we talk about the certain prices, it's important to pay a higher premium sometimes, so that because I feel like a lot of times if you pay more money, you're going to pay more attention.
Absolutely.
And you're going to show up in a different way. So we paid we paid $20,000 or so. And the purpose was to pretty much change our mindset around business, help us kind of remove some of the barriers around pricing, our structure, and just our value as well. And 2 weeks after, when Alani was actually born, we were in the hospital making a decision if we were going to join this mastermind.
No, I think we made a decision before we went in. Yeah, we made a decision before.
I think we paid while we was in the hospital.
Maybe paid then, but we made the decision before.
So we were very intentional about joining this, and long story short, it was a great program. And at the end of the program, it was supposed to be like a weekend, a retreat where we all got together. We mastermind, and we kind of went over ideas, we went over templates, we went over structure, we went over business.
But it was able to be a one-on-one feel because nobody else showed up. Now, you were saying that it was only going to be us. Say there was 8 people that signed up for the program. There was consistently maybe 3 or 4 people showing up on the calls. So you kind of get an idea of who's more engaged than others. Maybe because of the time of the calls, we don't know, reasons that other people weren't as engaged. So then we were seeing, like in the Facebook group, that the people that were engaged as much as we were, some of them weren't going to be able to make it. So we're like, well, if they're not making it, damn sure the people that wasn't talking is probably not going to come either. And that's essentially what ended up happening, which... Listen, I wanted to meet people, but I'm not mad at it.
So we were able to get direct attention on our business for an entire weekend, which was absolutely amazing and mind-blowing.
Right.
Because people pay thousands of dollars for just a couple hours with people. So that was truly life-changing for us in our business. And I think one of the biggest things, so number one, showing up is extremely important. I don't care if you paid $1 or $1,000 or $100,000. Showing up is extremely important, and you never know what you could get out of it.
That's the biggest thing.
And it could be just one gem that you take from a podcast. It could be one gem that you take from a course. It could be one gem that you take from a book. It could be one thing that you take from a book just by showing up. Just by showing. It could be one thing you take from that book just by showing up and applying the information to your life. And I think the biggest gem that I got from that weekend, that conversation, was setting the GPS for our life and our goals.
So what do you mean by that? What does setting the GPS mean?
So that's a great question. Happy you asked it.
Are you going to say?
So setting the GPS. So you don't just put in the GPS, I'm going to Florida, right? You don't just put in the GPS, I'm going to Florida. You say, I'm going to 123 Main Street, Miami Beach, Florida, 3, whatever it is.
Fountain Blue.
That's the GPS directions you put That's the direction you put inside your GPS. You don't say I'm going to Florida. I'm going to this direction and I'm going to this location in Florida. Now, for our goals, I remember we were setting goals. We were setting these numbers or these monetary or just these.
I think that you set that because that's kind of what you see, especially when you're just starting out in the business. You're like, oh, I want a 10K month or 50K month. I want the, and whatever business it is, that's what you're setting. But then, like you say, like, what's the reason that you want
So
this?
why are you you put in your GPS that you're going to Florida, Miami Beach, whatever it is. Why are you going there? What's the reason for you going? So the GPS is one part, right? And then you also have a reason for going there. So that's the most important thing. The GPS is important to get you there, which may be the monetary goal, but what's the reason for you going there? That's when I say setting a GPS-like goal for your business and your life, so that you can know exactly where you're going to. So let's say, for example, we want to have like $100,000 a month. Why did we want to have that?
Yeah.
There was no reason we want to have that at all.
To say we did it.
To say we did it. So when we got there, we said, okay, what's next?
What's next? Yeah. But then if you really break it down, like you said, the reason that you want that is for what? Is it for financial freedom? Is it to pay off a car? Is it to pay off a bill? Is it to pay a down payment for a house? Like, what is the reason that you want these things? What is the reason that you want our course? I mean, the beginning of our course, we speak about why. We speak about mindset at the beginning of the course. Some may say, well, that ain't getting me to the bag. Actually, it is. Because if you don't have a why and if you don't really stick to things, then when things get difficult, when things get hard, you're not going to do it anymore. Because your why was flimsy from the beginning. You're not going to do it anymore. So having that why makes such a difference and not these arbitrary numbers. I mean, I think about that when we had first told some financial advisors when we were paying off our debt and we want to pay it off by 30. And they're like, well, what's this arbitrary number? Like, why do you want to pay it off by 30? What's the I don't think that you should focus on that, whatever. And we're like, well, our why is we want to be debt free. We have other plans, want to start a family, all these other things that we wanted to do. So this is why we want to do it. So figuring out what your why is more important than just like the 10K, the 100K, the 50K, the 2K, whatever it is your business is or whatever is like you're looking forward to. Like, why do I want to pay off my credit card?
Yeah.
Because now I want to buy a house and I don't want to have that debt with me. Like, kind of just breaking it down further.
And even if you think about that debt-free goal, if we said, all right, we want to be debt-free by 30 and you ask the why, well, we have goals to buy a house. Okay. You think about your debt to income ratio. Okay, that makes sense to get down your debt. All right, you want to buy a house. Why do you want to buy a house? All right, you want to raise a family or a kid in his house. Why do you want to raise a kid in a house? Oh, because we were born and raised in the projects and we want to give our kids something different. Why is that? So they can have a different upbringing. So when you really break down the actual end result of the goal that you want versus just the goal itself, you can really go deep in this. And if you really keep asking yourself why, you can go really deep into your goals to figure out what is the actual root cause that you're looking for. So even in Cleaning Business University, if you guys didn't know, we have started and scaled a 7-figure cleaning business without cleaning any houses. If you check out cleaningbusinessuniversity.com, you can learn how to do that as well.
Yes, running it remotely, WFA.
So,
anyway.
like you said, in the very beginning of that course, we asked you, why are you starting this business?
Why are you here?
Why are you here? Because at the end of the day, you can say to make more money, which is great. That's like the larger goal, to make more money. That's what we all want to do.
What you doing with the money?
Yeah, what are you doing with that money? So you want to make more money to pay off your debt. It goes back to your why. Why do you want to pay off the debt? To do this. Or to make more money so having that actual end goal, the end result versus just what the arbitrary number is very important for setting your goals.
And I lost my train of thought, actually. I'm trying to look down because I'm like, what was I going to say? So knowing your why is one thing, but I think being around the goal makes it more attainable. So what do we mean by that? So going to a mastermind, whatever that looks like for you, if that's networking, I remember it used to be happy hour networking, like that can be a mastermind at a lower level.
Ain't nobody networking in no happy hours, man. We was playing games.
Yeah.
We go to these happy hours acting like, oh, we putting in work. Nah, we just came from work. We got our suits on. We ain't really doing no networking. Yeah, because most of the time you're trying to get with a girl or get with a guy. And
I wasn't getting with no guy at a networking event.
I'm saying most of the time that's the end result.
That was the end result. Okay, well,
I guess that's networking.
I'm just trying to say there's masterminding on different levels. It's not just having to pay a big fee and going somewhere. Like you can mastermind with your friends if you set a day or weekend family. Couples mastermind. There's so many other ways that people do it. So getting in those rooms and seeing the goal makes it more attainable. So when you hear that other people that look like you, that act like you, that sound like you are doing something, then it makes it more attainable. Now, do I need to, you know what I mean? Like I can see Rick Ross, right? It doesn't feel attainable because he's in a whole nother realm, right? But if I know that, okay, he started from here. He started at this level. Well, he was a PO officer, right? And he did this, he did that. Then it makes it feel more attainable. So us being in those rooms where people that are entrepreneurs, people that may still have a 9 to 5 like I do, or that still work their business on a certain level, it makes it just feel more realistic that we can achieve that goal. Definitely. And I hope that that's what we do for our listeners as well, because we didn't start where we are now, obviously, right? We both were born and raised in Brooklyn, New York in the projects. My mother was a single mother. You have 2 younger brothers. We both end up going to college, did not have a 6-figure job upon graduating. I still do not have a 6-figure job, and I graduated and I have my master's.
You had to have 2 jobs to have 6 figures.
Yeah, I had to have 2 full-time jobs to have 6 figures. So we are just like you, is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I'm saying. I just hope that you listening to us or like following our content and that type of stuff shows you that it is attainable. The same way that we go to these masterminds and people that are entrepreneuring and stuff like that, just show us what is attainable and what we can reach as well.
So a few things you said, you needed 2 jobs to make 6 figures.
Yeah, they don't be paying these therapists.
And that's funny because I was listening to
because you had a bachelor's.
I was listening to I had a bachelor's. You had a bachelor's and a master's, and you didn't make 6 figures. Mm-hmm. And I've always listened to Todd and Charles and Ralph, and they always say how you are the grinder of our household. and I got to address this because it's funny, but it's true because I came into a relationship. I was gonna make 6 figures. I was in tech, so most tech people, you see all the viral posts right now. Tech is paying it back. Well, tech has been paying it back for a while.
Yeah,
I've been in tech for I don't know how many years now, since 2008. So I've been in tech for quite some time. They've always been paying it back. Now it's just different levels or different playing fields. Tech used to just be tech support. But when you get around people who are doing, like you said, if I knew that tech was paying $250,000 in cybersecurity, maybe knowing that back in 2008, the doors might have been a little bit more closed back then. But if I would have known that, maybe that's a route that I can now take because I see people who are doing it. It makes it more obtainable. Bless you. It makes it more obtainable when I know people that look like me are doing these and achieving these goals. So I send articles out all the time. I say, all right, I know somebody who's in tech making, multiple 6 figures. Here's something you want to get into. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know that was an industry or that was open to black people.
Proximity.
Well, now you know because I know somebody doing it. So just by being in the circle allows you different realms. And another thing we always talking about, like going back to Alani being in first class, like that makes her being in first class kind of makes it a potential norm for her down the line. When she meets somebody and the little boy is like, oh, I'm gonna fly you first class. Like I did that when I was 6. I did that when I was 6 months old, child. She might have a Texas accent behind it actually as well.
No, she can't.
You ever thought about that?
No, and that's not gonna be okay.
So she meets some young guy. He trying to do first class, or he trying to she loves my Rolex. I'm like, okay, well we know that. We know that flashy. That's gonna happen. We have to get Alani a Rolex at some point. Because she likes it. We noticed that when my Apple Watch, she doesn't like it as much. But when I wear my Rolex, she likes it. So that may be something that we have to get her down the line. So that
you set the standards. It becomes it's similar to like with me with traveling.
Yeah,
it becomes a norm.
You traveled your whole life, so of course you having a daughter now or a kid, regardless of daughter or a son. You having a kid now, they're going to be traveling as well. Yeah. So it makes it more attainable when you're putting yourself around these people who are already doing what you want to do. So. Okay.
No, I was gonna say. So when was this? So I don't think I was pregnant yet. So I don't know. What year are we in? 22. So maybe early 2021. We had looked up the G-Wagon, right? You hear people talk about this, and I think we mentioned this, but we've had probably so many podcasts a long time ago. But like you hear these things of go and sit in the car you want to drive in, whatever that is, Nissan, G-Wagon, Infiniti, whatever it is you want to do. Go to the open houses in your neighborhood or in other neighborhoods that you can't afford right now, but that doesn't mean you'll never be able to afford it. Go feel it. Go see what it like. Go test drive it. We tried to test drive a G-Wagon, but they're all out of stock, so we never got to do that.
Everybody used their pandemic money for G-Wagons.
But even if I wasn't going to buy it, then it just maybe give me a feel of like, oh, no, I don't like this at all. Now I like something else. Or it just gives me a feel of knowing that it may be attainable at some point. So you start somewhere. When we started the business, we speak about that. Like we had no idea of what it would be. We had no idea that we would make $50,000 a month from the cleaning business. We had no idea. And so now as you grow, you're like, well, I want this. I want this. I want more. But go and feel these things. And I think another way that you can feel these things is being around other people and watching who you follow, watching who you consume content with. That's kind of like being in the room without having to physically be in the room, right? In other ways, and feeling things out to see what you like and to know that I'll get there one day, that I can attain that.
Yeah. And then that's why we also created the Cleaning Business University community, so that you could see people who are doing
growth.
And you can see people who are doing what you want to do. You can see people who are coming up behind you. You could help them, and you see a path for you to get there, whatever your get there may be. So, another thing we did was like going to open houses. Like, we do open houses in our neighborhood just because we want to see what people got in their house. Let's see what people
got in the house, but also it's a way for us to see value, right? So eventually we sell our home. What do they have in their home that we don't have that may potentially have our home higher, lower, whatever that looks like? So it ain't just to see. I don't care what they got in their house. I like to see what the setup looks like, though.
Yeah, we got similar square footage. We want to know, all right, how's your layout? What you got there? Your house is selling for $100,000 more than ours. Why is that?
Do you have extra bathroom? Yeah.
Exactly. So being in those situations, and also going to the house that you want to buy, that's very important. Going to that mega mansion. Let's say you know. So now that you have an end goal, I don't want to just make $100,000 a month just because. I want to make $100,000 a month because I want to be able to afford the mansion that is on 123 Main Street. So now you have
Boulevard.
Exact what? You say?
I said, or on Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Nah, and
I'm joking because anything on Martin Luther King, whatever city you go to, is not good.
Why do they always do MLK
I don't know why they did
and Malcolm X?
It's horrible. Every place,
they always do the hood. Like, it always got to be the hood. We got to talk about this. We got to figure out why is Martin Luther King Boulevard and
they doing us dirty,
and Malcolm X Boulevard always the hood. No matter what city, no matter what state.
Sorry, I distracted you. Go ahead.
No matter what state you're in, it's always the hood.
It's always the hood.
We gotta change that. We gotta change that.
They're doing it on purpose. But I had one thing.
But going to that mansion allows you to see, all right, what's the reason for you grinding so hard? So then now you know, all right, the end goal is here. Why am I making so much? Why am I trying to make so much money? Why am I trying to do this? That's the end goal, getting there. So having that GPS for.
Right. And so figuring out the life you want to live and working backwards, right? And so you had an example of that, of you being on a private jet or us being on a private jet at some point next year.
Yeah. So I said my goal is for us to be in a private jet at least once next year.
Yeah.
And the conversation came
to Austin.
So the conversation came up was like, all right, what's the reason for you wanting to be on a private jet? Because I want to experience it. I want to see what's the lifestyle like there. All right, now let's work backwards. And you can't just say I want to be in a private jet next year. How much does that cost? How much does a private jet cost? Now,
where you going?
Cost is going to be different based on where you're going. So now you got to plan a trip on the private jet to know the cost. Now, let's say the cost is $15,000. Is that one way or is that both ways?
Ciao.
So that let's say it's $15,000. Let's say it's $10,000 each way. It's $20,000 total.
This is what you're hoping for. That's why you're saying it.
I'm saying. So now you have to plan a trip. You have to know where you're going in order to know that price. And now I have to make $20,000. Now the question is, how much do I really have to make in order to feel comfortable spending $20,000 on a round trip ticket?
That could potentially be an hour each way. Who knows?
Now you got to be comfortable spending $20,000 on a 4 hour. You're spending 5 hours, $5,000 an hour. You have to be comfortable. So that's a whole mindset shift. That's not just money anymore. I have to be comfortable dropping $20,000 on something that may potentially take 4 hours to do. So I'm not going to take a private jet to Europe or whatever.
Because you can't afford that.
That's crazy. You got to start in my backyard. I got to start in my backyard. So now I have to put my mindset, I have to have a mindset shift that I'm willing to spend $5,000 an hour for something that's going to take me 4 hours. I'm going to spend $20,000 total and be off of it just for the experience alone.
Experiences are a big deal for me, though.
4 hours experience? 4 hours worth of experience or what?
Well, if you think about it, people spend more than that on a wedding.
That's true.
A wedding is way more than $20,000. Well, I guess it depends on what type of wedding you have.
More people can experience your wedding. And the memories last longer. Because more people.
Does the memory last longer?
Yes, because now your wedding is amongst 200 people that have a memory of being at your wedding. So that's a lifetime worth.
If your wedding is $60,000, you divide it by the 200 memories, or you divide it by the money that is coming out, whose pocket is come out of?
Listen, let's see.
Do you divide it by the?
I love doing the math on the podcast.
So is it like 10 hours?
$60,000 divided by 10 hours.
So the wedding is usually an hour
8,000
or
an hour.
less, and then like 5 hours. 1 hour for the cocktail and 4 hours for the dance. So 6 hours.
$60,000 divided by 6 hours. It's going to be 10,000 an hour.
10,000 an hour.
Okay, divided by 200 people. That's $50. That's $50 a memory. It's $50 a person.
I don't know how you're dividing by the 200 people when I'm the one paying for it. The 200 people ain't giving. Well, they give a gift.
We're talking about the experience.
Yeah.
So we're talking about.
I'm just saying. You said the $20,000 for 4 hours is a lot, but I'm just saying we pay more and do it within a day for a wedding.
But it's only for 4 hours. But the experience that a wedding gives you is that those memories last a lifetime, because you have 200 people that always have the memory of being at your wedding.
Your jet ain't gonna last you a lifetime?
No, it's only just us. When I die, those memories die with me.
You can take a picture.
All right.
Put it on Instagram.
I could probably make some money from being on the jet as an influencer and all that. But I'm saying we have to be okay with spending that amount of money for that short period of time. Mm-hmm. But then also you got to remove yourself from the time, because at some point when you're making money, it's not about the time. It's about the impact. So you remove, when you're an employee, you think about your money as related to time. How much time do I have to put in? How many hours? 8 hours. 8 hours a day to make $1,000, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But when you're in that, when you're spending that type of money, you're not thinking about the amount of time you got to put in. You got to think about how many products, how many services, what's my business income. It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset you got to have. Mm-hmm. So figuring out the life you want and working backwards. So whatever that life is. Yeah. So working backwards. If it's a $400,000 home, this is what it costs. I'm going to need to put $50,000 deposit. I'm just throwing numbers out here. How do I get that? How do I get that? I make $4,000 a month. I usually have $500 left over. Like whatever, just breaking it down that way, like something really, really breaking it down. So would you be okay? I think we had an episode. Do we have an episode of breaking down goals? I feel like we did. But yeah. So really breaking it down. Would I be? So would you be okay spending $20,000 on the flight? To New York? I don't know. And what would you? What
it's
would
not
make
so.
you okay
I feel like
with
it's
that?
not so black and white. It's the car picking me up from my house. It's the
Comfort,
not having
it's
to
the
go
time.
through TSA. It's what I'm eating on the flight.
It's a whole experience. I get it.
It's a whole experience. I mean, it's similar to like we weren't in that place, but I don't even think we're still in that place where we was going to Dubai. And we're like, how much is first class? Let's just see how much first class is. And it came with like a driver and all these other things, but it was like $20,000 a pop. And I'm like, what? Excuse me? Something like that. It was real close to that. So I didn't automatically say no. So maybe there's a possibility.
But then that just goes back to what mindset shift do you have to have in order for you to get there? So is it, it's not just the money, it's the mindset, it's the time versus the income. It's a lot of things that has to go into making a decision like that. So you got to figure out the importance of it. So it's not just, all right, making 100,000. Do you want to make, why are you going to New York? Why are you flying for a cab first class? What does it take for you to get there? Are you okay with spending $20,000 for 4 hours? All that stuff adds up.
And then I think you realize when you work it backwards and then you achieve it, you say to yourself, my goal wasn't big enough. And that's something I don't remember. When do you think that we realized that our goals wasn't big enough?
When we hit it.
I think also, but prior to that, I think having a coach helped us to realize that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Having an outside expert or outside personality, a mentor or a coach looking in.
They see more for you sometimes.
Always. And that's important too. That's the importance of having someone looking from the outside looking in. Is like, yo, I see so much more for you. It's even like having an employer looking in on you. Because I had employees all the time. It's like, yo, you could be doing so much more. You have so much more potential, but you're kind of just right here. So at some point, you got to move on from them. But having that outside perspective is extremely important.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And they always let you know, all right, I see bigger for you. And then they start speking into you. They start speaking it into you.
Yeah, and then you start to believe it. We actually have a full episode that we did on why having a coach, so we can link that below. How having a coach just helps you. If you just think in regards to any of these athletes, right? They all have coaches in different things. If it's exercising, then mindset, then nutrition, and then train, it's so many different things that people have coaches in, but we can link that episode that we did below.
Yeah. And then another thing was when you go think about, all right, what's the reason for you having this goal? So I'll go back to the Rolex example. So I wanted to buy my Rolex and the reason for me wanting to buy the Rolex because it was on my vision board for 2 years. So in order to buy it, I kept creating arbitrary numbers. And then the end goal was, all right, if we make $100,000 in a month, I'll buy the Rolex. And we did that, and I didn't buy it. And then our net worth went over $1 million, and I ended up buying the Rolex. Two different goals, two different extremes, and I just kept pushing it back. Now, if I would have said, in order to buy the watch, or whatever, in order to buy the watch that I want, how much does it cost? And now, how much more do I need to make? The same thing with the private jet. How much more do I need to make to be okay with spending that amount on a watch? Now, you don't think about the watch as a watch, think about the watch as an investment. Now it's a part of our net worth. It's an asset. It's something that we could sell. And it just goes back to just changing your mindset around why do you have these big goals? Like, what is the real reason you want to do this? And that's very important.
Yep. Let me see through our notes here. Talking about, that was it on our part. You had anything else you want to add?
Yeah, there was one other part too when you mentioned like your goals aren't big enough, because we was having a meeting with someone, and they were like,
"Oh,
what?"
I just have a question after.
Oh, what's your question?
Just how do you, outside of a coach, how does someone see that their goal isn't big enough? Like, how do you help someone do that?
I don't think it's about the goal being big enough. I think it's just having an intention for the goal. So how do you be intentional about the goals you set? I think if you just start asking yourself, what's the reason for it, you could really dive in.
So then it'll help you to stick to it, I think is what it is, right?
Yeah. Because if you say, let's say, what goals you got for Alani? What's the goal you got for Alani? You want to have
speaking Spanish.
You want to speak Spanish
fluently.
Why?
She can be ahead in life.
How will she be ahead of life?
Knowing 2 languages.
Why does she need to know 2 languages?
She can survive when she travels to other places. It helps her to get a better job if she needs to.
Why does she need to have a better job?
Higher pay. I mean,
why does she need higher pay?
Because she needs to live a lavish life. That's what she wants. I know it.
Okay, all right. So there it is. So I'm just saying, if you
I know it from now.
So you want Alani to speak Spanish so that she can live a lavish life, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and it will help her to keep connected to her roots.
Okay, I said if you ask yourself enough times, you could get to the deeper meaning. Versus
it'll help her to keep herself connected to her roots.
Yeah, instead of just saying I wanted to speak Spanish, now you got a reason why you want to speak Spanish versus just want to speak Spanish to get a better job. Yeah, who really cares about jobs?
Yeah, nobody. Well, not nobody. We care about jobs, but yeah. More, I think the first thing, you're right, it would be for her to stay connected to her roots of being Panamanian, which, she's long gone because I was born in America, but still.
So we was having a conversation with someone, and let's say this person was a doctor. And when you're a doctor, you go to residency, you go to medical school, you go through residency, and then you become a doctor. Or let's say you become a head surgeon. I'll say the head surgeon as an example. And they got to that goal as a head surgeon and realized they didn't want to be there, and they quit.
People would say they're crazy.
People would say they're crazy because this is
crazy to do that.
I don't know. There's different types of doctors. Let's say that person's a neurosurgeon. They got to that point and they quit because they realized that that's not what they wanted to do. That they realized that they never had a reason to get there. It was like, you become a doctor to do
part
this.
Of this.
Yeah, you become a doctor to eventually do this. And you just go through the cycle, you go through the motion, then you get there, and it's like, I don't really want this. And if you really ask yourself, why did you want to do that thing in the first place, you realize that wasn't really the goal. You're like, I want to become a head doctor or a neurosurgeon.
Oh, that happened with thing on Potomac.
You better not say housewife. Oh
yeah,
my God.
Wendy on Potomac.
We might as well just have a housewives breakdown course at this point.
Wendy on Potomac. I'm just saying that was happening with her. She's African, right? And her parents with Africans, you're either a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, or one of those. And
or an alpha.
Or an alpha, okay.
As an alpha, you're a doctor, lawyer, engineer. That's what you're.
Oh, okay. So
or in tech.
She has multiple degrees, works for Cornell, or I don't remember, one of the big schools that she works for. And then in the episode, she was like talking to her mother saying like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Now, I'm not saying she never wanted to do it, but for her, many times she has mentioned that's what her mother wanted. Like she had to go ahead and do that. And then you realize after like, this ain't what I want, especially in this day and age where there's other options, where you feel like there's other options, at least. I think there's always been other options, but it seems more attainable to have other options. Yeah. So it happens.
So you get to that point and you realize that's not something you want to do because it was placed on you when you were younger. It was the norm. It was the typical. It was a standard. And you get things like, yo, I really don't want this.
Yeah, I don't like
so
this.
if her quitting as what was she, a lawyer? A doctor? Teacher?
She's a doctor. She's a doctor. Remember she told...
Yeah, she was a doctor. So as her as an example, you get to that goal, you achieve it, and you're like, I really didn't want to do this because if I would have asked myself why I want to do this, maybe I could have broke this down sooner.
Because mom wants
versus having that GPS for actually what you want. Like, why are you going to Florida? Like, are you just putting a GPS saying, drive me to Florida? No, you want to know why you're going to Florida. What's the reason? And then how to get there actually helps you. So having that actual why and setting that GPS for your life and your goals is very important. Make sure you are intentional. Hopefully you found some value from this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully you found some intention from this episode. Ask yourself why you are going where you're going so that you can know how you're going to get there and what's the reason for you going.
Drops mic. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure that you're subscribing, you're commenting. And I see you guys commenting. Thank you so much. You guys are engaging with the YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube. Yep. We're almost at 2K. I think we could get there before the year is over. So thank you so much once again for joining us for another week of Hartzog Hustle Podcast.
See you next week.
This has been an episode of the Hartzog Hustle Podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Janilka on Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that money.